welcome to my channel. I'm Alexa. Today we're making strawberry shortcake. I measured out all my ingredients and I recommend that you do so too. You can find the full list of ingredients and measurements in the link in the description. Remember to watch the video first so you can be prepared.
To start, I'm going to sift my cake flour and baking powder. This is to make sure there are no clumps. If you don't have a sifter, you can use a wire whisk or a fork. When you're sifting, you can push the ingredients through using a rubber spatula or a spoon, or you can tap the sides of it with your hands. Now that my ingredients have all fallen through, I'm going to tap the sides of my sifter so I can make sure no ingredients are stuck to its stand. If your sifter doesn't have a stand, you don't need to do this step. Now I'm going to cream my butter in the bowl of my stand mixer. Before I did this, I cut my butter into small pieces to make this easier. Creaming your butter means putting it into your mixer and letting it mix by itself so it loosens and actually becomes creamy. This will allow it to combine better with the rest of your ingredients. Some recipes tell you to cream your butter with your sugar, but I find that it combines better when you cream it by itself first. The butter starts sticking to the side of the bowl, so I'm going to scrape it down with my rubber spatula. My butter is looking great, so I'm going to add in my granulated sugar and vanilla extract. I'm going to mix this for about 5 minutes until it's light and fluffy. When the ingredients stick to the sides of the bowl, or if there's some ingredients you can see, scrape down the bowl. Make sure to scrape the bottom of the bowl whenever you scrape the bowl down because it's very common for butter or other ingredients to stick there and not blend with everything else. my batter is fluffy, I'm going to add in my egg whites. Add in the egg whites slowly. Do it a third or half at a time. You may need to speed up the mixer to get it to fully incorporate as I did. I stopped the mixer to show you what it should look like. Then start it slow again, gradually adding in the rest until it's fully mixed in. Now that all the egg whites are mixed in, I'm going to add in about a third of the sifted dry ingredients from before. It doesn't need to be exact. Just don't pour in half or more of what is in there because it'll be harder for it to mix in. The dry ingredients are sticking to the sides of my bowl, so I'm going to scrape down my bowl again. Next, I'm going to add in about half of the milk. I'm going to mix this until it's fully incorporated with the batter. looks great, but I'm going to scrape down my bowl again to make sure. Now I'm going to add in about half of my remaining dry ingredients from before. Dry ingredients are once again sticking to the sides of my bowl, so I'm going to scrape it down again. Now I'm going to add in the rest of the milk. Some ingredients still don't look like they're mixing well, so I'm going to scrape down my bowl again. This is helpful because it helps ensure that you aren't overmixing. Now I'm going to add in the rest of my sifted dry ingredients. My ingredients are once again sticking to the sides of my bowl, so I'm going to scrape it down. I'm going to mix this a little longer so those unmixed dry ingredients can mix in. My batter looks great, so let's move on to the next step. Now I'm going to put my cake batter into my cake pan lined with parchment paper. If your parchment paper isn't staying in the right place in your pan, put some binder clips around the edges of it so that it'll stay in place as you put in the cake batter. Just make sure to take them off before you put your cake into the oven. Use your rubber spatula to guide the batter in and scrape the remaining batter out of your mixing bowl. I'm using a rubber spatula to smooth the batter across to make sure it's even. Next, I'm going to put my cake into the oven. My oven's preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. My cake took 30 minutes to bake. Start checking around 25 minutes. When it's done, if you put a cake tester, knife, or toothpick into the center, it'll come out clean. You can also press your finger into the middle and it'll pop back up. Put your cake onto a cooling rack so it can cool. Now I'm going to get started on my whipped cream. Wait until the cake is completely cool before starting this step. First, I'm going to sift my powdered sugar. This is a very important step because if you don't do this, your whipped cream will be full of powdered sugar clumps. Next, I'm going to make the whipped cream. Before you do this, make sure your whipping cream is cold and you just removed it from the fridge and that your bowl and wire whisk are cold. I put mine in the freezer for 15 minutes before that because it will help the cream whip and solidify. Now, I'm going to put the cream, powdered sugar, and vanilla extract into my mixing bowl with a whisk attachment. This is important because it will not work if you use a paddle attachment instead. Then you need to mix it until the cream is thick, solid, and makes stiff peaks. It's important not to overmix it because otherwise it'll turn into butter. As you can see, if you put some of it on your finger or on the spatula and turn it upside down, it shouldn't fall off. Now I'm going to split my cake in half. To do this, I'm using a measuring tape to make sure I'm cutting it evenly in half. This is important so the layers are the same size. For me, I cut mine into 6.5-inch slices using a long knife, so it's more likely to be in a straight line. Next, I'm going to transfer my first layer onto my serving dish. I used a cake lifter, which is a very large spatula, to do this, and slid it under because it makes it less likely that the cake will break or fall apart. Then I'm going to spread the whipped cream across the top. You can use however much you want on each layer, and you don't need to use it all. I had some left over, so I stored it in my fridge until I needed it. Make sure it covers the entirety of the cake so every slice gets some. Next, I'm going to put my strawberries on top of that. Make sure the strawberries are covering the entire cake. You can pile them up like I did, or you can use however many you would like. Now, I'm going to put the second layer on top of it. Then, I'm going to cover it with whipped cream like before. Then, put the strawberries on top of that like last time. And my strawberry shortcake is done and looking delicious. Please let me know what you thought of the video in the comments and how the recipe went for you. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you can see when new videos are added. Thank you and enjoy.